Here's your puzzle of the week. It is white to play and win. So taken from the game Martyn Kravtsiv from Ukraine against Luca Moroni, played in the European Team Championship in 2017. Now this is a remarkable position. There's an incredible solution. It's mysterious, subtle, beautiful and deadly. If you get this, well, you've hit genius level. It really is extraordinary. But it's worth looking at. It really is. Have a go at solving it first, and that'll at least give you an idea of the kind of themes involved in the position. So, first of all, I should say that the pawn is advanced, so pawn takes rook, check is threatened, getting a new queen. So that's your first problem. How do you deal with that threat? What's the best way? I should say that in the game, white did not find the win. The game finally ended in a draw, but it's very understandable. I mean, this is so difficult. So, rook b1 was played in the game. I'll go through that in a second. But the winning move is rook e1. It's funny, I kind of, knowing that this was a puzzle, I guessed that that was the starting move. But, I mean, what happens after that is just extraordinary. So, I mean, I certainly didn't find all the details when I was trying to solve this position. So, rook e1. Okay, what's the point of that? Well, it stops the e-pawn for a start. But why not bishop takes rook? Okay, well, that's an easy one because the queen comes in. And it's difficult to avoid one of these checkmates. So queen takes bishop check, knight d5. And that's going to be mate. Okay, so that's the easy variation. Okay, what about, well, again, queen takes bishop check straight away. So the knight blocks. Again, this is a threat to play here. And if king g8, then just queen takes bishop is winning easily. And if, let's say, bishop d4, well, basically white just sort of creeps up the board and you can pick up this pawn. You know, this is going to be an easy win. That's not the most spectacular variation. White is 2 pawns up with a continuing attack and yeah, winning for white. Okay, but that's pretty straightforward compared to other stuff. Okay, so we know that bishop takes rook and queen takes bishop check, both losing. Okay, so what about queen takes g3? Right, well, here's where it starts getting complicated. Obviously, queen h7 allows queen takes pawn check. That's not good. In the meantime, bishop takes rook is happening. Okay, what about rook takes pawn? Well, that would allow queen g1 mate. So this is where it gets tricky. So there's this mysterious move, queen d7. That's really beautiful. I mean, rook e1 is something else. Queen d7 as well. It's extraordinary. Okay, so what's the point of that? Well, if bishop takes rook, let's look at the obvious move first. Then knight g6 check. That's the idea. So if pawn takes knight, queen g7 is mate. Or king g8. And then mate on f7. Okay. So far, so good. So bishop takes rook, not good. Remember, the queen is still defending h3, very important. And of course, that bishop controls the f3 square. So no check there. Okay, so what should black do? Well, perhaps moving the rook is an idea. So the queen can't check it if the king moves away from f8. Okay, so let's try rook b8. And now white just plays very coolly and moves the bishop back to d5 so that the threat is just to move the knight and give checkmate here. So for example, bishop takes rook, knight g6 check, and mate next move on f7 if pawn takes. Okay, so what about trying to control that square? So queen d3 is an interesting attempt. So how does white win after that? So knight g6, not good. The queen comes back and defends here. But actually, white can play very simply with knight c8, just moving the knight out of the way, threatening here. And if queen g6, queen d8 mate. There we go, that's nice. So bishop d5 is the winning move. Okay, let's go back, because there's more to this. So, quick recap. Rook e1 is the winning move. Queen takes g3, and then queen d7. Okay, so what about defending this rook creatively? So what about queen e3? So that means if knight g6, now that can't be taken because of queen g7 mate, but king g8 runs away, and you can see in this case the queen defends the rook. Well, again, white has bought himself some time, and then bishop d5. So there are no threats at the other end of the board, and the threat is to play knight g6, just breaking through to f7, and there's no defense against that. So that is basically it. So in this position, the winning move is rook e1. Okay, let's just have a quick look at the game. So rook b1 was played. Now, why wasn't this winning? Well, queen takes pawn was played, and then bishop g2. And in fact, at this point, black is in fact winning, although the game later ended in a draw, very complicated. But let's come back here. Why can't white play queen d7 here, as in the solution, and threaten knight g6 check? Well, here there's an amazing defense. In this case, queen e3 is defending, so that means that knight g6, the king can run away because the queen defends the rook. That's the point. And if bishop d5, which still looks pretty dangerous, but in this case, watch what happens. There's no rook here, so black can get a queen with check, and then the king gets chased all over the place. And in the end, well, bishop d4. Let me see, bishop d4, queen e3 check is going to win. There we are. Oh no, simply, no, bishop d4 is a winning move, because that's right. In this case, knight g6 is against the rules of chess, because the knight is pinned. That's the simplest. And this pawn is going to be taken. So in that way, black has a winning position. Confused? Yeah, it was a very confusing position, but basically the long and short of it, the winning move here for white is rook e1, and after queen takes pawn, queen d7. And you can see the difference, that if queen e3, then white does have time to play bishop d5 because the rook blocks the e pawn. Phew, we got there in the end. If you want to replay those variations, then do check out the link to chesspuzzle.net, and you'll find plenty more there to baffle and bemuse you.